Alrighty, morning everyone, and welcome back to another beautiful video on this beautiful channel on another beautiful day. In today's video, I want to talk with you about big transformers. How you gonna scrap them, how you gonna get them, and how you gonna sell them and transport them and stuff like that, yeah. So we're gonna do that, and it's gonna be very interesting. I'm gonna show you all kinds of stuff about big transformers. I unfortunately don't have a huge one here, but we are gonna have some good examples of parts of a huge transformer so that you can get an idea of how big the entire thing is, because the entire thing I can also not lay on the table because it would just break. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that one can know about these, and it's very interesting to see how you can scrap those down. I was lucky enough to get some of those in the last couple of months, and I scrapped them down, made some really good money off of it, and now I just want to quickly talk about how I did that, and what you need for that, and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna do that, and I think you're gonna enjoy that. I hope. Maybe not, but anyways, we're gonna start. Here we go. So let's start with the first thing. It's transport, obviously. If you buy something like that, you need to transport it. Well, first of all, you obviously have to pay for it, and you kind of sort of have to have the money for that because, well, if you want to pay for a 500 kilo transformer or like what, £1,000 or something like that, 1,100 pounds, and you're gonna have to pay like, I don't know, 25-30 cents a pound, maybe even more, then it's gonna get pretty expensive. So you better have that with you. But besides that, you obviously need to transport them. How are you gonna transport them? Well, that's the biggest question about stuff like that, because it's obviously very heavy, it's very inconvenient to carry, and honestly, my best bet on this kind of topic, honestly, is scrap them out where they are. Really, like just leave them where they are, bring your tools to the thing and not bring the thing to your tools, because chances are your tools are a bit more light than 500 kilos. So I would reckon it would be a better idea to bring them to the actual thing. That would be the most useful thing. You can cut it up into nice bite-sized pieces, and then you can bring it to the scrapyard, bring it home with you, whatever you might want to do. And you're really gonna save a lot of time and a lot of hassle. And yeah, so unless, of course, you've got a big vehicle with a crane, then it doesn't really matter. You can just pick it up, put it on your bed or something like that, and then just drive it home. Whatever, that's the best option. I don't have that. I don't even have a driver's license, you know that. But if you don't have a big vehicle like that, I would say scrap them out where they are. If you can carry them, bring them home with you, because it's obviously better for the client if they are gone immediately. But yeah, I would say that's all possible. So if you cut them down where they are and it's a client's place, you obviously have to be very clean, and I would usually vacuum the place that I used to cut open the transformer, for example, so that there's absolutely nothing left there when I'm gone, because obviously no one wants to have a dirty spot at their place when someone has removed their equipment, basically. So yeah, that's an important thing that you have to take care of. Be clean. If you pick stuff up from people that you want to do business with in the future, just be clean and don't leave stuff laying around. What tools are you gonna need? I would reckon you would definitely need one of those big boy angle grinders. I do not have one at the moment. I had one before. Honestly, I don't like using those because one of my family members actually injured himself very badly with one of those back in the day. So I don't like using them. I'm not comfortable with them. From time to time, I have to use one, but I tend to not have one around because I'm then too tempted to use it carelessly. These can be dangerous, It's with all big power tools, they can be dangerous, but angle grinders especially, they spin very, very fast. And if those things break, there's no problem with it shearing half of your leg off, which is pretty much what happened to said family member. So be careful with them. If you're using them, you're pretty much gonna have to probably on these big transformers. I usually do them with the small angle grinders, just because I've gotten used to them and that it doesn't really take me that much longer. It probably does in comparison, but I'm just way more comfortable using the small ones. You're probably better off using the big ones. What you're also gonna need is a pair of bolt cutters. You can use wire cutters, but they might break. I'm gonna show you why in a second. But if you cut the windings off, that might not be very thin, on a big transformer like that, I would use a pair of bolt cutters. It goes way easier than a pair of wire cutters because wire cutters don't have as much leverage as bolt cutters. Bolt cutters are basically made for cutting bolts. Who would have thought, right? So they are better at cutting strong things. It's just what it is. And with a pair of bolt cutters, you're not going to have any problems whatsoever cutting big pieces of copper. What you're also definitely gonna need is at least a hammer like this one, probably more like a sledgehammer with a wedge on one end. They do exist, I've got a few of those, but you have to look a little bit further because usually sledgehammers have two blunt ends. But there are some with one wedge end, and you should definitely get one of those if you're strapping down one of those really big transformers. They are really, really helpful. A big hammer like that is really gonna make your life a lot easier, and that is definitely something you should be bringing. Also, bring a ratchet set, because there can definitely be some big bolts on this stuff and you don't want to not be able to loosen them, obviously. And so, yeah, that is pretty much everything you need. There's not a whole lot to them, and you can do them with very simple equipment and not a lot of equipment, really. So they are really, really good for people that are just getting into the business and not really having a lot of capital to spend on fancy tools to process stuff. You don't need a lot for big transformers. It's pretty much the same as you need for small transformers, just maybe a little bit bigger tools. So yeah, how does one of these transformers look? Well, I've talked about that in one of my recent videos. You've actually seen one of them there, but that was obviously a way smaller one. That weighed like 150 pounds, but they, as I said, they go up to like multiple thousands of pounds. I think the biggest one that I recently scrapped was about 500 kilos, or like, what is that, 1,200 pounds? Something like that. I obviously scrapped that out on the spot and I didn't bring that anywhere, obviously. But yeah, that's definitely something that is possible, that anyone can do, basically, if you've got someone that sells it to you, obviously. So that's a pretty good thing, and you're gonna really make a decent amount of money off of that, like a really good amount. We're going to talk about the financial aspect in a little bit later in the video, but I first wanted to give you an example of how big these transformers really are. I unfortunately only have parts of them here, but yeah, you can pretty much figure out how big they will be if I show you what I will show you right now. So this is the copper winding of one of those big, really solid transformers that I showed you in one of my last videos. The thing weighed about 150 pounds, and I'm probably going to make like in excess of $200 off of it. So this is the winding that goes around the steel core. The steel core is inside of this. The winding goes obviously out a little bit, and I basically just cut it on one side and then just pry it out. It's pretty much the easiest thing for me because I cannot wear a mask for very long, like not much longer than like 3 or 4 minutes. I've got some health issues and don't want to go into that right now, but that's basically a thing. I usually only cut them once because it's just way quicker. And then yeah, I just pry those out, and that's pretty much the size of the winding that is on those bigger transformers. So let me now show you what came off of those really big transformers, like 500 kilo plus ones. So we've got this here, and now I'm going to show you the windings of one of those bigger transformers. It's this right here. That is the winding of a transformer. This is about 1 kilo of copper right here. And so you can approximately imagine what the transformer was like when it was still intact. I've really never seen something this massive before as far as copper windings go. I was amazed to see this kind of stuff. It's crazy. And I really made enough money to last me a month off of this one transformer, which is awesome. I don't need a lot of money. Don't expect like I made 10 grand or something like that. Definitely not. I made like minimum wage for the entire month, but in one day, obviously. So definitely really, really, really good. And you can maybe see right here, this is where I cut this with a bolt cutter. That basically is how it looks when you cut those copper windings with a bolt cutter. And yeah, works really, really well, goes really quick, and you don't have a lot of hassle with it. I actually kept the starting point of this transformer's windings. It was basically like this, something like that, and then the winding started to kind of warp around over here, and this was the ground that was connected to, I think it was an aluminum plate, might have been a steel plate, I don't really remember anymore, to the bottom. And like, it's just incredible, this thing. I still can't really believe how great of transformers are out there. It's amazing, it really is. And these don't come like this, these copper windings. You have to clean them up to get them to this point, which is extremely annoying, and I didn't do that, have to be honest. I really just sold them as they were. I just cleaned this up for the video. I had this laying around actually. And so yeah, they looked like this. Basically just a brown paper tape wrapped around the entire thing, like every single piece of copper on this thing, which was like, I don't even remember anymore how many kilos of copper that was. Has to be more than 100 kilos, probably way more. I'm gonna calculate that up in a second and tell you the exact numbers. But like, it's incredible the amount of effort that goes into something like that. And now it's basically scrap. It's probably already incorporated into an iPhone already, because it was a couple of months ago. So yeah, but anyways, this is how this stuff looks. You can see just the copper inside of it. You cut that off, and then you kind of just unwind this paper stuff if you want it clean. I wouldn't bother, to be honest. Just sell it as burnt copper as it is. It's not that big of a price difference, and you're gonna sit there for weeks unwrapping this stuff if you really want to. And I wouldn't recommend that, because you also don't know what this stuff was actually coated with or whatever. I just wouldn't bother, to be honest. So let's now get into the numbers. Yes, how much money did we actually make with that massive thing? It was actually not as much as I actually expected it to be, honestly. Well, maybe I lost something, and I definitely didn't calculate in this copper, because I haven't sold it, but I thought it would be more. Would have been more, to be honest. But anyways, it was still a pretty good chunk. So let me break it down for you. This transformer had 33% of copper, at least according to what I sold. Maybe I forgot something. As I said, I don't know. Don't judge me. But yeah, that is pretty much what this copper transformer had in copper value inside of it, and that would be, it was approximately 500 kilos. I didn't weigh it exactly because, well, I couldn't lift the steel up. I had to get some other people to bring that to the scrapyard. But anyways, that's not really important now. 165 kilos of copper came off of that transformer. So with today's prices, for me, that was about $1,000. And then we've got another, like, I think it was 70 or 80 euros for the steel. It was like 335 kilos, I think, of steel. Obviously, if the copper was 165, but yeah, 335 kilos of steel. That's like, I think, 70 euros with my price. My price for steel is actually pretty good. I'm very happy with that. But yeah, that's definitely something where I would say that's pretty okay. So what I paid for this thing was hefty, I would say. I paid $350 for it. That is not like euros. That is not great, but it's also not a bad price. Honestly, I didn't even start lowballing with my prices. I just said to him, yeah, well, I'm gonna pay you that, and you're gonna get this and this and this and this from the scrapyards, like in our close proximity and pretty much all over the country. And he was like, yeah, well, that's pretty good, thank you. And so I scrapped it down on the spot, and I made 750 euros. So what is that, like $900? Probably $900 US, hopefully, I don't really know. But I think that's probably what it was. That is very decent. It is not as much as I actually remembered it being, because as I told you before in the video, I thought it was like minimum wage for the entire month. That was not the case, but that is definitely an amount that I could easily live off for an entire month with all my expenses for my house and whatever. So that's not a big problem. I have very, very, very low cost of living here, so there's no issue there. So that would have been the only thing that I would have had to do in this month. That wasn't the only thing, obviously, because, well, that would be kind of dumb to not do anything else just because you made some good money. No, we don't want to do that. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with that, though. I hope that you can pick some big transformers up for yourself. If you've got any more questions, be sure to write them in the comments below. I'll be very happy to answer those, as always. And if you want to, rate the video with like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you might want to do. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to do that, because I think it makes it easier to catch up on the videos I uploaded or something like that. So yeah, do that if you want to, and have a fantastic week, and until next time.